15-year-old Kara Robinson is bound, gagged, and stuffed in a container. Her kidnapper has taken her to an unknown location.
Once he drug you inside in this container, what happened then?
It was a couple of minutes, and he opened the container, and he said, I'm gonna take the gag out, I'm gonna take the restraints off, but remember that I'm the one with the gun. If you can't scream, don't try to escape.
They are in an apartment, his apartment. And although Kara doesn't exactly know where she is, she has a plan. A plan to gather as much information on her captor as she can.
I was, trying to read his mail. I was looking at the magnets on his refrigerator, and I knew who his doctor was, I knew who his dentist was, and I knew, the serial number from the inside of the Rubbermaid container.
Did he talk a lot to you? Was there like a lot of conversation?
Because I knew that I was going to escape. I wanted to learn about him. So I did try to have some conversation with him. He had some lizards and some fish, and asked him about those. I got him on the topic of he was in the military and found out that he was discharged from the Navy.
The man engages Kara in conversation too.
He was cordial to me. That sounds so crazy, but he was polite.
Polite, and with pencil in hand.
He asked me a bunch of questions and was writing down the answers. My name and whose house I was at, and if I had any previous sexual experience, if I had a boyfriend, and wrote it all down.
As abductor and abductee each conduct their desperately different fact-finding missions, Kara prepares herself for the inevitable.
People don't kidnap young girls and not sexually assault them. It's just not. So I knew that was coming.
And it does. With a knife and gun within her kidnapper's reach, over the next several hours, the man rapes Kara repeatedly.
For me, after I was raped, it was really devastating. I remember I just immediately felt like no one could love me. If my parents knew what had happened to me, they'd be like, well, good thing we had 6 kids because we still have 5 others. Did that have any kind of impact on you, or did you just know, this guy, he's a piece of crap. Doesn't matter what he does to me, I'm worth surviving, I'm worth living, I'm going to win.
I definitely placed a high value on my survival. For me, that mental aspect was a little bit different, but it was definitely there. At one point, he said, we're gonna watch the news and we're gonna see if you're on the news. Let's see if anyone misses you.
Oh my gosh.
And I had been kidnapped 8 hours earlier, so of course I wasn't on the news at that point. He's like, well, nobody misses you. Continually, he told me that he was going to let me go, and he said, and then it's your choice what you do. He said, you can go to the police and you can always be the girl who was raped. And so it always kind of stuck in my mind that there was going to be this stigma attached to me. From then on, I was going to be the girl who was kidnapped, the girl who was raped.
Through all of that, Kara tries to remain strong. But that strength is challenged when the man puts Kara back in the container.
There was one point that I definitely lost it and had a panic attack. He told me he had to go make a phone call. And at that point, he put me back into the container. And he said, you've been good so far, basically. So if you promise that you're not going to scream, I won't gag you or anything. And he put me in there. And at that point, the lid was mostly on, but I started to basically hyperventilate, have a panic attack. He came back in there and he said, what's the problem? And I said, I can't breathe. And he said, okay, well, I'll leave the lid open as long as you don't make any noise. And he did. And then he went back and continued his phone call.
Wow.
Yeah, he was calling his wife.
That's right. He's married. And while his wife's away,
he said, you're going to be here a couple days, so at some point you're going to have to eat. And he made me smoke marijuana with him, and he gave me a Valium.
It's now time to turn in.
He put handcuffs on my wrists, and he had a rope coming up from the bed frame. And on the end of the rope, there was one of those C-clamps. And so that was attached to my handcuffs. So my hands were kind of up here. And then I had a restraint on my right leg, which was attached to the bottom of the bed frame there. And then he was just kind of like, okay, we're gonna go to sleep.
Was he right next to you in the bed? Or...
Yeah, in the same bed. He was right next to me.
The predator and his prey fall asleep. Then, in the early morning hours, Kara sees the moment she's been so patiently waiting for, her chance to escape.
I woke up the next morning and he was still asleep, and I knew that was it. That was the time.
Coming up,
I just thought he was going to shoot me. I woke up before the sun even, and I heard him still sleeping. And I sort of knew when he was sleeping was going to be the most feasible time.